Greetings to readers, viewers, and listeners, and welcome to this next edition of the Autistic Superblog's The Hot Take. There's been something in my life that I've been noticing in myself, and I want to ask if anyone else has noticed this in their lives too. It's been something that's been known that I've thought about in my life, most recently with things that I do that causes me no end of stress and no end of agitation at times. But I want to ask all my fellow Spectrumites this. I mean, to kind of open up this video, you might notice that I titled it Autistically Imperfect, or Perfect as it were. One of the things I've noticed in my own life is that I have this feeling of perfection. Maybe it's part of my mask, maybe it's not, but I always feel like everything I want to do, I want to be able to make sure that it's done to the best of my ability. And if it's not, it just doesn't feel right to me. And sometimes that could do something on my self esteem, my self confidence in myself, my ability to feel like I'm as good as anyone else. And I'm just feeling like if this is something that's been going on in your lives, fellow Spectrumites, I want to just say that you're not alone. You're not alone in thinking that everything has to be perfect. Um, neurotypicals think that it's easy to live in their world, and it is. But sometimes it might not be that easy, because you gotta deal with social cues. You gotta deal with you gotta deal with social cues. You gotta deal with things that you can't control, um, and other stuff too. And it just gets really frustrating after a while. And I know that feeling firsthand because for myself, I mean, when I do something, when I do these posts and all that, I always like to make sure that everything's to the best of my ability. I always stress and fret all till all hours of the day and feel like nothing that I do is ever good enough. And that's not exactly great either. But it is the truth when it comes to something like this. I always feel like for me, if I don't do anything good enough, then it's not great. And I can only imagine what Gordon Ramsay must feel when it comes to something like this, where standards are everything. And I know he does standards too. I get it. Um, and sometimes it can feel like you missed the mark. And for myself personally, I always feel like it's something that I struggle to deal with the time from time to time, because I always feel like I always have to get everything done perfectly or as close to perfect as possible. And if it's not, it's not good enough. It's kind of the reason why I do these hot takes on spur of the moment, because I want to be able to get my ramblings out. I want to get my expressions out. I want to be able to make sure that people, that the fellow Spectrumites and dear readers and listeners, feel accepted. That they feel like their feelings matter, and your feelings do matter, and your importance matters, and your work matters, and everything about you matters. I wanted to say this right out of the gate, that no matter what you're going through, Spectrum or not, your life, your feelings are valid, and they matter not only if not to other people, then to yourself. So never forget that more than anything. Never forget that you matter in this particular case. But there's always that nagging feeling in the back of your mind in hindsight that always makes you feel like whatever you do isn't good enough. And I'm one of those people too that always feels like you want to be able to make sure everything gets done to the best of your ability, and it kind of builds up that kind of perfectionist attribute, and it could be as Monk said, a blessing and a curse, and sometimes it's more of a blessing than a curse, or sometimes it's more of a curse than a blessing. Case in point. Um, I just wanted to do this as a short empowering video to all Spectrumites and even non-Spectrumites too. even though we may not live in a perfect world and everything that we may do might fall short of what we always want to do, that if we always give our best, that's always good enough. No matter if it's good, bad, if things are off because things are going wrong in aspects of your life, just know that I, I'm struggling with it too. I'm struggling with my perfectionist streak. Like I always struggle with getting things on the up and up and making sure that everything's perfect. I always like to make sure that I mean I always like to make sure everything's done in a great way. It's kind of the reason why I don't do these videos with any kind of edits and all that stuff because I want to be able to make sure that it's authentic. I want to make sure that everything I'm saying is authentic and I can back it up. But I always want to make sure that I think that being a perfectionist um gives me a reason not to really feel very good about myself and does numbers on my self esteem and self confidence. Um, and I'm still struggling on that too. And I'm still struggling to give myself some self care, some self love, and make me realize that you've earned this. That everything you're thinking about, everything you're feeling is important. It's enough. And sometimes it could be a struggle sometimes. But I want to let everyone know, spectrum or not, that you're not alone when it comes to being perfectionist. And I mean that with all sincerity, all authenticity, and more importantly, all autistically. And I just found out it's a real word. It's a real word. So if you like these videos, please check me out here in the Autistic Super channel on YouTube. And you can check out all my videos. I mean, yeah, I'm on Facebook, X, and all that stuff. And you can check out all my videos on the Autistic Super blog at WordPress.com. Stay safe, stay strong, be autistic, and be autistically, and as always, shine on.